If you clicked on this video, chances are you know who this man is. Ryan Murphy, American television writer, director, and producer. He's known for shows like Nip Tuck, American Horror Story, American Crime Story, Pose, and of course, Glee.
God, is the baby black?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just realized that song might be the national anthem from whatever country you're from.
But before all of those hit and controversial shows, there was one show that Ryan Murphy made that does not get talked about enough. A show that I will spend my life preaching about, starting with this video. I am, of course, talking about Ryan Murphy's first ever foray into television, 1999's Popular.
Did anybody but me find it odd that Nurse Jessie accused us and then almost immediately said, "Watch the body," while I pull the pinto around?
Yeah. What's up with that?
Guess what it's time for, Mary Cherry?
Time to die!
Pretty smart for a dumb blonde.
I know this company. It's a diet plan targeted specifically at unhappy teenage girls. I saw it on a talk show.
This show is an unhinged masterpiece. And if the WB didn't get in the way, it could have lasted a lot longer and had a much larger legacy than it does. But we'll get to the WB later. First thing you need to know, what exactly was Popular? Popular was a content dramedy that aired on the WB, and it was created by Ryan Murphy and Gina Matthews. It only aired for 2 seasons and was about these 2 teenage girls, Brooke McQueen, pretty, blonde, popular, skinny, Sam McPherson, brunette, unpopular, ugly, skinny. According to Wikipedia, Brooke and Sam, quote, reside on opposite ends of the popularity spectrum, and they each have their own group of friends, their own sort of posse, if you will. These 2 are enemies, but are forced to come together when their parents meet on a cruise ship and decide to get married, which is a storyline that happened quite a few times, actually, in the late 90s and early 2000s. But originally, this was supposed to be a film. According to Ryan Murphy, it was a complete satire using the device of cheerleaders to really look at female ambition. Because if there's one thing Ryan Murphy loves, it's a pretty girl with ambition. But Ryan Murphy's agent apparently looked around at the market and was like, listen, you see Kevin Williamson? He just sold Dawson's Creek. I think you should make this a TV show. Look at the television, girly. And that he did. Murphy pitched Popular around to a few networks, and apparently all 4 networks wanted it. He wasn't specific about which 4 in the article that I read for this, but either way, he ended up going with the WB.
This is the WB.
The network for young adults.
This is the WB.
And I did not know this, but the WB was that girl when it came to teen programming in the late 90s and early 2000s. I mean, we had Seventh Heaven, which... one day I'll do a video about that, because my God. Roswell, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, Dawson's Creek, Felicity, Gilmore Girls, Charmed, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. If you were a white middle-class teenager in the late 90s and the early 2000s, the WB was your network. And on September 29th, 1999, you may have seen this.
Have you ever stood naked in front of a mirror and looked at yourself? I mean, really looked.
Now, in order to talk about Popular and its short-lived life, we have to talk about what worked on the show and what didn't. First, what worked? I am somebody who loves an ensemble cast. My favorite shows include an ensemble. I'm thinking of things like Community, Living Single, which I might do a video about if y'all are interested. Just any TV show where it's about the characters all coming together and less about one character and their romantic life. Not saying it's not good, just saying that's not my vibe. Except for these 2, they're the only TV couple that matters. Popular worked so well when all of the cast members were working together, were grouped together, when they had scenes together, when they were rivaling each other. Let's take an episode like Caged. Caged is the 13th or 14th episode in the first season. Ryan Murphy says that he wrote it in the span of a day or two in a fever dream and sees all of the girls on opposite ends of the popularity spectrum getting their periods at the same time.
Dad, I can't even zip my pants up.
Me neither. I'm retaining so much water, I feel like I'm carrying an aquarium around in my pocket. Cramp! Cramp!
Here, hold, breathe. Is that chocolate on your breath? Are you trying to humiliate me? Because you know I'm craving it? Answer me!
Nice.
The boys that are in their friend groups are starting to get scared because it seems like these bitches are about to brawl in the parking lot. So they lock them all in the bathroom, in popular canon has become known as the Novak, in an attempt to force the girls to talk it out. This episode goes down so many strange paths that we will talk about when I get to my favorite episodes. But needless to say, in cast commentary for this episode specifically, you can hear that not all of the cast members were actually getting along. All of the girls were getting along at this time. And so it was kind of like a fun way to let out their frustration, but it also just worked so well because you cannot tell who was beefing with who. The girls are stuck in the bathroom dishing out secrets to each other. The guys are having the most insane subplot with their bio teacher, Bobby Glass, which we will also get to in a moment. But even in the cast commentary, at this point of the season is when they not only realized that the show was a satire fully, but also the cast started to settle into their characters even more. And speaking of characters, Ryan Murphy loves a pretty mean girl, and he writes them well, in my opinion. When you look at Popular, you can see where the inspiration for a lot of his characters from shows like Glee, I'm thinking of Quinn, Santana, shows like Scream Queens, Chanel Oberlin, and the other Chanels. Basically, any show that has a young, pretty, wealthy white girl in it, Ryan Murphy knows how to make her basically talk like a gay man.
Gay Jimmy Olsen over here got a little obsessed with me last year. I'm as skinny as Karen Carpenter in the morgue, and Chad Radwell still won't commit to me.
Does she not have any friends?
Shut up, Hobag.
None more than one Mary Cherry. Played by the fantastic Leslie Grossman, who you've probably seen in more recent seasons of American Horror Story. Mary Cherry was wealthy and unhinged. And she was from the South and had the wildest accent you have ever heard.
Just know one thing, Teen Tarts Judges, with or without you, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna be famous if it's the last thing I do!
In cast commentary, Leslie Grossman said that she basically thought of everything a dialect coach would tell her not to do when it comes to a Southern accent, and did that.
Here was what I tried to do with my accent. I tried to do what I knew every acting teacher on earth would just be cringing. I wanted to do the worst, fakest, bad Southern accent you could possibly do with.
But didn't we also like any word that could have an extra syllable, like meaner
or feminist, meany feisty?
Mary Cherry is just one of the best characters of television. I'm just gonna say it. If you don't believe me, YouTube Mary Cherry moments. There are at least 3 parts. You're welcome. I mentioned earlier that Mary Cherry was seen as a super gay character, with even WB execs telling Murphy, can you make her less gay? She just sounds so gay. Originally, Grossman had auditioned for the role of Nicole Julian, but Ryan loved her so much that he actually created the role of Mary Cherry for her. But who's this Nicole? Nicole fucking Julian. Tammy Lynn Michaels, what the fuck did you do with this role? Tammy Lynn Michaels put her foot in this role, okay? Do not play with Tammy Lynn Michaels. You know what? Let me talk about the character. Nicole is the real mean girl in charge. She's the one that actually gets the shit done. Brooke is the popular one, but Nicole is like the muscle. She's pretty, she's hot, she's disrespectful. She does not give a fuck what anybody thinks about her, and all she cares about is being popular. Nicole had so many great catchphrases, quippy, disrespectful one-liners, and an unhinged dedication to securing her popularity.
Are you tender? Yes. Like 2 rare lamb chops on a Spitfire grill.
I can't resist a weigh-in. Subtract at least a pound for the acrylic nails and the underwire.
Do you enjoy pain? Not in this context.
Other honorable mentions are characters like Emery Dick, Adam Rothschild, played by Wentworth Miller. Yes. Oh, he was fantastic in All About Adam.
How did you do that? That was just the color Xerox press. I have the original from the Up With People, Our Glorious History Archives.
Glenn Close was in Up With People, and she's been nominated for the Oscar 5 times.
And lost 5 times in a row.
Bobby Glass, We Stan a Non-Binary Queen, and April Tuna.
What happened to the pep squad? Fired those Frida Kahlo-faced losers and replaced them with these hard bodies, all of whom used to dance for Madonna.
Another thing that actually surprisingly worked about this show is that this show had a tone problem. It switched a lot between serious, dramatic plots, things that teenagers would maybe have to deal with, or just, the very special episodes. Maybe Brooke's pregnant. Maybe she's dealing with an eating disorder. Maybe Harrison has cancer. But what's also gonna happen during it? I don't know, Nicole and Mary Cherry kidnap Gwyneth Paltrow's personal stylist. Maybe as well, we think a student has died and it's a sad story about teenage death, but actually they haven't died, and let's also throw in a mullet club because one of our actors' hair is getting a little too long. Let's just throw that in there. The show switched between this a lot, and when it worked, it worked so well. And when it didn't, well.
I have an identical long-lost twin sister.
Okay, now you're just fronting, because I'm looking at you going, damn, gordita, you fat.
Before I get to what didn't work about this show, the last 2 things I want to say is that this show did parody really well. One of my absolute favorite episodes that I'll get more into later, I Know What You Did Last Spring Break. Brilliant. And you've probably seen clips of it online. But if not,
I know what you did last spring break, Mary Cherry.
I went to Freaknik in Hotlanta and turned the mother out. So?
And I also really appreciate that Popular was very much ahead of its time when it came to talking about social issues. Might have been a bit clumsy, but episodes that had to deal with queer identity, sexual harassment, even a teacher transitioning and the students coming to this teacher's defense.
I don't think that this is a transition that she, whatever, needs to be making in front of students.
You're gonna vote against him, aren't you?
This person is clearly under great emotional strain and most likely very confused.
No, Daddy, he's not. You're the one who's confused. Sam, I want to help Miss Debbie save her job.
Having watched the episodes a few years after it went off the air when I was 13 or 14, it really opened my eyes to what you could do with programming apart from just making people laugh or cry, but also sending a message. And when it worked really well. But when it didn't... Listen, I love a socially conscious episode. I love when people try to bring awareness into the writer's room and then into the audience. But sometimes you have to ask yourself, do I need to be telling this story? The difficulty with trying to add socially conscious episodes, plot lines into a show that is as chaotic and unhinged as Popular is that sometimes it can lose its severity, it can lose its meaning, or it just ends up being very inconsistent. For example, in season 2, they have an episode where they're talking about discrimination of all kinds. Sugar Daddy is discriminated from working at a hotel that he really wants to work at because he's fat. Again, shout out to Popular for talking about fat phobia earlier on. Come on now, this is 1999 CW. There's also the character of George, who they introduced in the 2nd season, who's the only main black castmate. In that same episode, he is out with his white girlfriend, and a bunch of black girls see him and start calling him an Oreo and all this other stuff. Great story to tell, because a lot of us have to deal with that. But Ryan, you also had a black woman in the 1st season of this show talking like this.
Meal at the back. Wonder if I have any lines.
Any lines? Child, you got the lead role.
God, I just know he was behind the scenes like
Can it be a little sassier? God,
And a Latina talking like this.
I don't need to stand here listening to your ethnic slurs, biatch.
I'm not saying you can't learn and grow. I'm just saying the consistency was never really there. And I get it. It was the late 90s, early 2000s. I'm not expecting it to be completely fantastic and as well read and researched as the people that I be reading or whatever. But it's just something I needed to point out if I'm going to be honest about the show. You know, sometimes the switching between the serious and unserious, the socially conscious stuff and the let's add some levity to this worked, and other times it just didn't. Another thing that didn't really work for me were the leads. Listen, Leslie and Carly did the damn thing with their roles. I feel like they really got their roles in their bodies and it was great. But they were always the straight men in a sea of madness. They were like the pillars of sense and reason. They never really got to play comedy. Even Leslie talks about this in the cast commentary of the episode Caged.
This was one of the rare episodes where you got to be comic, and I know how much you enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Because we always felt like Brooke was an archetype of dramatic princessdom, so we had to keep that going. But you had fun doing the comedy.
Of course I did. I thought this was a fun episode.
This was by far my favorite.
So it's nothing against them. It's just Sam and Brooke as characters, I could take them or leave them because everybody else was just so damn good. And then we got season 2. Okay. Listen, everybody was good, but then the WB started interfering. They wanted more drama. They wanted more teen stakes. And as I mentioned all of those shows before, the WB had enough teen drama, enough teen angst, enough all of it. Popular was a different show. And this is what happens when a network doesn't understand what they have and is just trying to turn it into or make it into something that it isn't because they think it'll appeal to more people instead of having a loyal following. Popular was a teen satire. It was written by a gay man, and not all of the characters were gay or gay coded, but a lot of them were. And it was absolute madness. A lot of the references probably didn't make sense to actual teenagers at that time, but to adults they did. It was funny, it was weird, and I know Ryan has weird vibes about the word campy, preferring to use the word Baroque instead, which girl, okay. But the show was camp. Brilliant fucking camp. And the WB didn't realize that. They wanted another Dawson's Creek, something kind of like a Felicity.
So will you marry me, my dear? Let me chase away your pain.
We didn't quite have an audience for something like Popular at that time that was big enough to sustain it as a show. So of course, it got canceled after 2 seasons, which makes me so upset because Popular had some of the most fantastic TV episodes and unhinged moments that I still quote and think about. Speaking of episodes, Caged is the episode that I always try to introduce people to when I tell them to watch the show because it explains all of the characters, it explains the tone of this show, and it's just so much fun to watch. All of the girls are taking a literary course and they're reading The Scarlet Letter. Again, they have their periods at the same time. The boys are freaked out. They think they're going to kill each other. So they lock them all in the Novak, and then the girls are bored, hungry, and Nicole has stolen all of the secrets that they wrote and is like, let's play a game. I'll write them all down on the mirror and we will guess who's who. So naturally, this adds to a lot of drama because while some of the secrets are stuff like they call me Quack about Mary Cherry having webbed feet, or I question my sexuality, which they actually had to, fun fact, figure out how to barter having the 2 girls kiss and trading that for certain curse words or something like that because WB was so about girls kissing. But anyway, the other secrets were stuff like, I'm dating Josh Ford. I kissed Josh Ford. And Josh Ford is Brooke McQueen's boyfriend who she just broke up with. So all of this mess happens in the room. But at the same time, while these girls are beefing it out in this bathroom, the boys are watching a tape from their biology professor, Bobby Glass, about the Madagascar fire ants. This tape cuts, and all of a sudden you get some sort of BDSM kinky type, I don't know what. let me just play the clip.
Oh my god. Oh god. This SNL.
Oh, I forgot about this. Right.
How was this allowed on network television in 1999? Even Ryan doesn't understand how this was allowed. But anyway, this is what I mean by this show, unhinged. Eventually, the girls solve their problems, get out, but Nicole and Brooke end up not being best friends for you have to watch the episode. I'm not going to give it away, but it's a good episode. It's a fun introduction to all of the characters and has some of the best quotable moments.
Thank you. Shut your dirty whore mouth, player. Okay.
The season 1 finale is exactly what I meant when I said that the cast was also so well suited to each other. This episode sees all of our characters banned from going to sophomore skip day because their biology teacher, again, Bobby Glass, and the principal has been like, JK, we've sent your photos to all of the police stations, so if you try to skip, you're going to be arrested. So they concoct a plan to poison Bobby Glass with E. coli. She doesn't drink the poisoning, but dies anyway, allegedly. Hijinks ensue. Everything is madness. And on top of this, Brooke and Sam's parents' wedding is that weekend, as well as Mary Cherry's mom's wedding to Eric Estrada, because that's all happening at the same time because this is popular and it has to. The whole episode is about end of season sweeps. You'll see check marks of stereotypical sweep stuff that happens in season finales, somebody dying, a teenage pregnancy, will they, won't they getting back together, all this great stuff. The episode is so fun, and even when I rewatch it to this day, call it nostalgia or just call it good writing, but I laugh out loud. Mary Cherry seeing that dude at the house, or someone's going to die with Nicole Julian. Like, all of these actors knew how silly it was, but also took it so seriously. And that was just, oh God, I fucking love this show. There are some other unhinged moments, like Mary Cherry kidnapping Sam in the second season to write her biography because her mom is going to write one and she doesn't want her to make her look bad. So she hires Sam as a ghostwriter, but ties her to a chair. There's All About Adam, which I mentioned earlier, where we see Wentworth Miller basically dethrone the queen bee and all the popular girls because he's trying to get revenge for popular girls being mean to him. But it's just such, oh God, this episode, oh, you gotta watch it. There's the entire I Know What You Did Last Spring Break episode where all of the cast is stuck at the school because they're worried about getting some fever, but it turns out, I won't tell you who the killer is, but it's wild. And we also get to see a return from Jane Lynch. They have an entire musical about STDs called That Burning Sensation. And it's an episode that they also use to talk about sex and what it means to lose your virginity, quote unquote. Harrison getting allegedly possessed by Nicole Julian because she was the one who donated bone marrow to him. Girl, I can't tell you or explain that sentence further. You just gotta watch it. This show literally has everything. So why did it get canceled? The short answer is homophobia. And the long answer is still homophobia. Ryan talks about how this show was hurtful for him to even talk about and left a bad taste in his mouth in terms of execs in the WB because they were just terrible. In one meeting, a WB executive imitated Murphy, flopping his wrist and adopting a Faye voice. Both hurtful and inaccurate, Murphy pointed out. He inherited a low rumbling voice from his father. Murphy recalled, I had one meeting with an executive about a script, and I showed up at the meeting, and he started imitating my voice and making feminine hand gestures, which I don't have, and I never thought my voice was gay until he repeated it back to me. I literally was stunned into silence, and he was being really, really brutal to me. Apparently, this executive also gave Murphy a note on the popular script saying, quote, you have to take it out. It's code for gay. You're being very gay here. Or one executive, as I said before, commenting about Mary Cherry being too gay of a character, quote, could this character be less gay? The language coming out of this character's mouth seems very flamboyant, which we think is too gay and will offend some of our viewers. Can you take that out? This is all according to Wikipedia, so grain of salt, but Murphy continued. They were interested in gay people who were tragic. They were interested if you were gay and you would kill yourself, or if you would try to commit suicide. They weren't interested in gay sensibility or the language of being gay, which is sometimes not just gay characters. Like I said, the long and short answer is homophobia is what canceled Popular, which is so sad and frustrating and annoying even in the late 90s and the early 2000s, but is unsurprising, especially for the demographic that they assumed they were catering to. But like I said, if you don't know what your show is, you don't know how to market it. And they did not know what they had. It seems, though, that even if Ryan Murphy might, look at it as kind of a failure, or that those execs were super homophobic and it was canceled before its time, Popular is kind of a cult classic. I get so excited when I talk to people about this show, especially because most people have never heard of it and have never seen it, but they know who Ryan Murphy is. It's a show that if you pay attention to it, you can see a lot of the characters in other TV shows that Ryan Murphy has done. You can see the early seeds of those characters. You can also see the thematic sort of writing style that Ryan Murphy has, where every episode eventually becomes a theme if he's not writing for, But shows like Glee, even shows like Scream Queens, where the full theme was, oh, there's a serial killer. There were still pretty thematic episodes in those series as well. So it's a show that you can tell is a Ryan Murphy show when you watch it, and has such strong characters and has actors that really were so committed and dedicated and focused and just really well suited to the roles that they ended up portraying. It's unfortunate that a bunch of execs got in the way of something that could have been even more fun and weird and unhinged, and was developing so organically to make it more palatable to an audience that it was never meant to be for. Anyway, I absolutely love the show Popular. You can find episodes on YouTube. They're just randomly posted every once in a while. I encourage you to watch it. It's such a good show. It's so 90s, 2000s, that perfect Y2K aesthetic. Like, it's incredible down to the zigzag hair parts, the pastel blue, the silvers. Some of the references are, yes, dated and inappropriate, but a lot of them are very funny and just so obviously written by Ryan Murphy. Gina Matthews did such a great job. Jamie Babbitt was also directing early on in this, and you see her directing in a lot of other teen shows, a lot of other shows in general. This show was just magic. And I only discovered it a few years after it was canceled as a tween myself, but it's made a lasting impression on me. And yeah, I just thought I wanted to evangelize the children about it. So yeah, be sure to check out Popular. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to get more into more of my videos, and comment below if there's a video idea that you have of a TV show that you want more people to watch. Gotta go. Bye.